In 1943, Europe was burning. Millions of lives hung in the balance, their fates dependent on a single, critical decision. But this decision wasn't made on a bloody battlefield, nor was it debated inside a smoke-filled war room. It was made over a dead body. A corpse with no real name, with fake documents tucked into its pockets, and a lie so perfectly constructed that it fooled the most dangerous man on earth. This is the true story of the cadaver that deceived Hitler and changed the course of the Second World War. It was the spring of 1943, and the war had reached a pivotal moment. The Allies, having secured North Africa, knew one thing with absolute certainty. To defeat Nazi Germany, they had to invade mainland Europe. But there was a colossal problem. Southern Europe, the soft underbelly as Churchill called it, was a fortress. The most logical next target was Italy, and Adolf Hitler knew it. Sicily, the strategic gateway to the Mediterranean, was heavily fortified, vigilantly watched, and meticulously prepared for an invasion. A direct assault on Sicily would be a bloodbath, a slaughter of Allied soldiers on the beaches. So, inside the clandestine world of British naval intelligence, a dangerous and unconventional question was asked. What if we could make the enemy look the other way? What if we could convince them we were going to attack somewhere else entirely? The challenge was both simple and terrifying. Hitler was a man obsessed with details, prone to suspicion, and he would only move his forces if he believed the evidence was irrefutable. Not rumors, not speculation. He needed proof. In a quiet, unassuming office at the British Admiralty, two intelligence officers, Charles Cholmondeley and Ewan Montagu, began to design an idea so audacious, so absurd, it bordered on madness. Their proposal was something truly unthinkable. They would create a fictional British officer from scratch. They would give him a full identity, authentic papers, a believable personal life, and a tragic backstory, and then they would let the Nazis find his corpse, not a dummy, not a staged body from a movie set, a real human being. They understood a fundamental truth about espionage. Only a real corpse, with all its grim and undeniable authenticity, would convince German intelligence. The plan was given a cold, bureaucratic, and darkly ironic name, Operation Mincemeat. The greatest challenge they faced wasn't logistical or technical, it was moral. They needed a body, but not just any body. It had to be a person whose death would raise no questions, someone with no family to come looking for them, and whose cause of death was consistent with drowning. It was a ghoulish task. After a discreet search, they found their man, a Welsh drifter named Glyndwr Michael, who had died in London after ingesting rat poison, most likely by accident. He had no close family, no one to mourn him or question his disappearance. His real name would remain classified for decades. For history, and for the purposes of this grand deception, he would become someone else entirely, Major William Martin of the Royal Marines. With their actor secured, Cholmondeley and Montagu began the work of master storytellers. They built Major Martin a life from thin air. They invented a fiancée for him named Pam and crafted a series of love letters, carefully worn and creased as if read over and over. They included a receipt for an engagement ring, ticket stubs from a London theatre show, keys, family photographs, every small piece of pocket litter that makes a person real, and most importantly, chained to his wrist in a briefcase, were the crown jewels of the deception, top-secret documents, official-looking letters between Allied generals, explicitly stating that the upcoming invasion would strike Greece and Sardinia, not Sicily. Every single detail was meticulously calculated. The ink on the letters was tested to ensure it wouldn't run in seawater. The date of death was coordinated with the tides. They even debated what kind of underwear a man like Major Martin would wear. This was not just deception. It was theater at the highest, most critical level. In late April of 1943, the body of Major Martin, carefully preserved and dressed in his uniform, was placed inside a special canister and loaded aboard the British submarine HMS Sur. Under the cover of darkness, the submarine surfaced off the coast of Huelva, a small fishing town in southern Spain. Spain was officially neutral in the war, but its government, and particularly its intelligence services, were known to be sympathetic to and cooperative with Nazi Germany. This was exactly what the British were counting on. The body was gently released into the sea, left to be carried by the current toward the Spanish shore. Now, all they could do was wait. The fate of thousands of soldiers rested on a Spanish fisherman finding the body, and on the predictable chain of command that would follow. As hoped, the body was discovered. It was recovered by the Spanish authorities, who noted the officer's uniform and the important-looking briefcase. And, just as planned, the Spanish military, despite giving assurances to the British that they would return the documents unread, quietly allowed German agents to access them. The papers were meticulously photographed, the letters analyzed, and the copies were sent by the fastest route straight to Berlin. The files landed on Adolf Hitler's desk. Hitler, a man who trusted almost no one and was obsessed with counter-espionage, reviewed the intelligence, but this time the evidence was overwhelming. A genuine corpse, verified by a Spanish autopsy. The documents were consistent. The personal letters added a layer of human tragedy that made the whole package feel tragically, undeniably real. It was too perfect to be a trick. Hitler was convinced. The story worked. He fell for it completely. He issued a directive. the measures to be taken in Sardinia and the Peloponnese take precedence over everything else. He ordered elite panzer divisions to be moved from France to Greece. He had torpedo boats redeployed to the Greek islands. Defenses were massively strengthened in Greece and Sardinia, the very places the fake documents had pointed to. And Sicily, the real target, was left dangerously exposed, its garrison weakened at the most critical moment. The Great Deception had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. On the 10th of July, 1943, the Allies launched Operation Husky, the invasion of Sicily. Over 150,000 troops landed on the island's southern coast. They were braced for a horrific fight, but the resistance they met was far weaker than anticipated. The formidable Hermann Göring Panzer Division was nowhere to be seen. It was in the wrong country. Allied casualties were dramatically lower than all initial projections. The island was conquered in just 38 days, paving the way for the invasion of Italy and the eventual collapse of Mussolini's regime. Military historians and strategists are unanimous on one point. Operation Mincemeat saved tens of thousands of lives, both Allied and Axis. It shortened the Italian campaign and, by extension, the war itself. It was a victory won not with weapons, not with bombs, but with a story. A lie so powerful and so convincing that the enemy actively wanted to believe it. And it was all achieved with the unknowing help of a man who never knew his lonely death would change the world. For decades after the war, the truth remained a closely guarded secret. Glyndwr Michael's real name was not revealed until the 1990s. There were no medals for him, no public honors, no parade, only a quiet grave in a cemetery in Huelva, Spain, marked with the words of his fictional identity, William Martin, beloved son, who died in the service of his country. When the classified files were finally opened, the world came to understand something both unsettling and profound. Wars are not always won by the biggest armies or the most powerful weapons. Sometimes, they are won by stories, by narratives crafted so brilliantly that they can fool history itself. One single anonymous corpse managed to deceive the deadliest and most paranoid regime of the 20th century. But this was not the only time a lie saved the world. It wasn't the only ghost operation or silent decision that shaped our reality. There were other plans, other unsung heroes, and other human choices that never made it into our school textbooks. These are the stories that official history preferred to keep quiet. If you want to uncover them with us, make sure to subscribe to the channel and join us for our next exploration into the true stories hidden in the margins of history. Thanks for watching.